Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with some more commentary on Smogon Tour Round 1. This time we have my buddy SoulWind versus Marshall.Law. Now if you're not up to, okay, it's late. If you are not up to date, I should just start over. We're only 15 minutes in, 16, 17, 18. You know, we're gonna keep going. If you're not really up to date with what Smogon Tour is, basically, it's a tournament where people have to qualify over 9 weeks to play in the playoffs, and the playoffs are best of 3. It's Gen 5 OU, so Black and White 2 OU, ORAS OU, Gen 6 OU, and then 7th Gen OU, which is Sun and Moon OU. So right here, we have the first game, which is Black and White 2 OU. Now, if you actually look at the teams, Keldeo is a giant threat to Marshall.Law's team. I mean, Keldeo is a threat to any team, but it's specifically here because his best Keldeo switching is Latios, which SoulWind has Tyranitar to Pursuit Trap and Jirachi to check, and even potentially Scarf Landorus to check as well. And his other answer would be Rotom, but with Rocks going up and Sandstone working against it, canceling out its leftovers, it definitely is like really hard for Marshall.Law to deal with, in my opinion. At the same time, though, the pressure from the double fighting type of Terrakion and Infernape can break through SoulWind as well, since his only fighting resist is Landorus, and it's looking like Scarf Landorus, Rocks Chomp. And if that is the case, it could be Rockstar or Banditar, I don't know. But we'll see as the game goes on. I've seen the game, but I'm just talking about how I would see it from, an outsider's perspective. In any case, I think Rotom is just great lead for both of them, but SoulWind does end up leading off with his Garchomp as he does get up Rocks, so that's a pretty key turn, just allowing him to get burnt, which leads me to believe that he is definitely the specially base Garchomp set with Draco Meteor, Fire Blast. Marshall.Law actually makes a really good play and expects that, seeing as how he just let it get burnt, and goes hard into Skarmory. This is also a good opportunity for him to set up spikes versus SoulWind's team. Neither have hazard control. Defog wasn't a thing until Gen 6. It was a thing, but it wasn't a thing that actually got rid of hazards on both sides until Gen 6. So they're going to be able to get up later spikes here as Rotom is going to come in. Rotom is actually pretty annoying for Marshall.Law, considering his only switching is either his own Rotom, which if it gets burnt again, Keldeo's Secret Sword will be a 2-hit KO after Stealth Rock with Sand plus Burn. Does miss the Will-O-Wisp, which does lose him a little bit of momentum because he probably could have went hard Garchomp there to block any Volt Switch. But they're going to trade Will-O-Wisps here, which is pretty fair. Again, that burn is definitely going to be working against him as well as the Stealth Rock damage, and he goes right for Hydro Pump. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't go hard into his Garchomp, but they both go right for Hydro Pump, which is fair. I think he predicted the Garchomp, whereas SoulWind just wanted as much damage as possible on the Rotom, trying to weaken it. So wins a potential tie. I don't know if that is a speed tie, though, as he's going to Volt Switch out of there. Goes right to Garchomp, the smart play, blocking Volt Switch, blocking Pain Split. Marshall.Law does make the good play, the good read, and goes right for Hydro Pump, expecting the Garchomp to come in, but look how low Rotom is now. So again, Keldeo is looking like a giant threat. Jirachi is going to come out, leading to believe that it definitely has something like Energy Ball, or maybe something that could deal with Rotom, but he ends up being a substitute variant of Jirachi, as he's going to Volt Switch out of there, not break its sub. And Jirachi behind a sub is a little bit scary too, because Iron Head threatens Terrakion, Thunderbolt threatens Skarmory, and even Rotom is low, so he just go right out into his Infernape. I think SoulWind decides to sub here because he expects maybe a Bandit or something Infernape and goes for the sub. If he wants to go for U-turn, that way he would end up behind a sub, but just throw out Fire Blast as Jirachi's sub is going to break, and he can go right for Thunderbolt. So seeing as how SoulWind does have some good resist to fire, he's going to switch out into either Rotom or Tyranitar. He decides to make the Rotom play as Marshall.Law makes a very solid play and goes right for close combat. So very good play on Marshall.Law's part. So SoulWind actually decides to go ahead and save that save that Rotom, because it can come in and Skarmory and Pain Split up, or even Volt Switch later. Goes right out to his Landorus right here on the next close combat, and this Landorus could very well be a Scarf Landorus. It could be any real type of Landorus right here. We're actually about to find out that it actually is not a Scarf Landorus, but it ends up being, as we'll see later, is a Yachi Berry Landorus. So he's able to knock out the Rotom with a combination of Rocks and Burn. With the U-turn, as he can go out to his own Rotom, forcing in either Terrakion, forcing in Infernape, basically forcing in something that's not Skarmory. And if Infernape comes out, then he can just go out into something like maybe Scarf Keldeo to Revenge Kill, which is exactly what's going to happen here. So he's going to bring out his Keldeo right now, as Close Combat was able to knock out the Rotom, and pretty much just click Secret Sword or Scald. Either or is a good play right now. He ends up clicking the Secret Sword on the Skarmory switch in, and that is an easy 2-hit KO. And as I did say, This is a really, like, Keldeo kills Terrakion, kills Tyranitar, kills Infernape, and it also can be a 3-hit KO on Latios, so after rocks and whatnot. So he actually decides to double Secret Sword. Now I understand this play. It's because SoulWind did have 2 potential switch-ins to Latios, one being the Jirachi and the other one being Pursuit Tyranitar. So he stayed into double Secret Sword, expecting Marshall.Law to want to double. I understand that play, but I do not think it was necessary, especially risking the Pokemon that literally wins the game by clicking Secret Sword. Like, it knocked out Tyranitar, knocked out Terrakion, knocked out Latios if it decided to switch out. So I think he should have either went hard Tyranitar or gone out into Jirachi. Tyranitar also would have made a lot of sense, depending on what variant it was, though, because if it was Specs Draco, then it could have 2-hit KO Tyranitar, again, depending on the variant. So Jirachi Sack would have also been a good play there, because he would have been able to find out what type of Latios, but he decides to stay in, and that is going to cost him his Keldeo, because Marshall.Law drops the Draco, Keldeo goes right down. It turned out it was Life Orb Latios too, and that's one giant threat to Marshall.Law's team gone. So go to Tyranitar, now he can just Pursuit Trap this Latios. Marshall makes the smart play in trying to save it because he does have a Skarmory. He can just fodder off or anything like that. Go to Tyranitar, though. After Pursuit, he's able to knock him out. As it did turn out it was Choppa Berry Tyranitar, so it could have eaten one Secret Sword maybe, but it still couldn't do much to Keldeo at all, especially a healthy Keldeo. But he's able to knock him out with 2 super powers. But at this point, Terrakion is looking like a huge threat. Infernape is looking like a huge threat. And again, Terrakion is looking like a giant threat. Same thing with Landorus. Or same thing with Infernape, just because Landorus is not Choice Scarf. We saw that it did switch a move, so he can go right for the close combo with his Terrakion, knock out the incoming, or knock out the Jirachi, as Landorus is going to come out, and he can either close combo here or go hard Skarmory, just fodder it off, that way he can get an Infernape, which is a smart play, as the Landorus does go right for HPI, so expecting the Skarmory sack. So that's really good, because now he can end up catching this Infernape with the Earthquake, because it does turn out it is Yachi Berry Landorus, so it ends up living the HP Ice. It can knock out Infernape, but that was Landorus was his only fighting resist on the team, and it's so weak to the point it dies to Stealth Rock. Terrakion can just come in, clean up with close combat. Doesn't matter that it's Choppa Berry Tyranitar. It is already taken. It will be taking the Stealth Rock and the Spike, and that will 100% put it in range of the close combat. So I did understand why SoulWind made that play with Keldeo, because, you know, a lot of people double all the time on Keldeo, especially when T-Tar is in. But Keldeo was his way of winning. It literally clicked Secret Sword and won the game. But that's game 1, though. That is game 1. We're going to be going on to game 2. They actually end up playing Sun and Moon next. Before we get into this, I just want to say, if you guys want to pick up my clean 7 years merchandise on YouTube, the link is down below. Available till June 5th. But just celebrate 7 years on YouTube. But I'm actually just going to switch sides real quick. Anyway, let's reset this real quick. So, Banded Zygarde, always a threat. Always a threat, especially if you don't have a Tangrowth. And, you know, Marshall.Law does not have a Tangrowth. So, Banded Zygarde is really good. 2-hit KO, every 3-hit KOs, these Mons. Can 2-hit KO with Rocks up, depending if the Landorus is offensive or not. Lele plus Mega Alakazam is a really good combo. Mega Alakazam in general is really solid versus SoulWind. Appreciates the Psychic Terrain boost, because Ferrothorn can't switch in on a Psychic Terrain boosted Psychic plus Focus Blast. Magearna is definitely a threat depending on the set, whether it be Assault Vest or Shift Gear. Gengar is a threat to both sides. They don't have real good Gengar switch-ins. Well, he does have Tyranitar, though, so if it is Scarf T-Tar, it's pretty good. But I'm thinking more so Bandit as a stall breaker or whatnot. Let's just get right into the game, though. So we do see a Landorus lead versus a Ferrothorn. So this gives SoulWind the opportunity to get up a Stealth Rock, potentially Spikes. We do see just a chip damage from Landorus going for Earthquake. Very smart play, because, again, he does that top of Lele and Alakazam, and the more he weakens Ferrothorn, the less he has to risk going for damage with Focus Blast, whereas if it's a really weakened Ferrothorn with Stealth Rock, with Spikes, it's to the point where he can just click Psychic and knock it out, or even just Shadow Ball. So we do see knockoff from SoulWind's Ferrothorn, which is actually pretty cool, because it does negate Ferrothorn's leftovers, and actually gives his own Ferrothorn the opportunity to 1v1 this guy. So ends up going for Leech Seed. As it turns up, it is the double hazard. Now, I said there was no hazard control on this side, but maybe that was last game, but SoulWind does have a defog Latios here, so hazards might not be the worst for SoulWind, because he can defog, but it's pretty hard for him to defog, considering the dude has Gengar, the dude has Ferrothorn, Pursuing T-Tar, Shadow Balling Alakazam, and Moonblasting Tapu Lele, so it might be hard for him to defog, but he can bring it in, probably on Landorus or something like that, or a confirmed T-Tar locked into a move or something. But Yeah, he does go for the double leech seed, not expecting the double hazards, but Ferrothorn is just going to go right for the spike right here. As SoulWind decides to switch out into a Slowbro, maybe he has Scald, or maybe he's just trying to throw off a Fire Blast if he does have it, but he brings it on the leech seed. Doesn't really matter too much because he does have Regenerator, so he can come back at almost full HP anyway, as he doubles out into Ferrothorn, maybe expecting him to want to pivot, but at the same time, I think it's more so just to get leftovers back, because now all 3 layers are up, and Ferrothorn it's slowly but surely recovering. So and I understand what he's doing, but they're just wasting PP at this point. So I skip ahead a little bit. He decides to bring in his Landers on the Power Whip. Not quite sure how I feel about that. Obviously, it was a losing battle for Ferrothorn right there, but I don't know if I would have gone Landers considering that's one of his Zygarde answers. But decides to double out into Tapu Lele after getting off that Intimidate. SoulWind does not care though, goes right for the Leech Seed. Now, Ferrothorn can actually eat up any hit, but SoulWind actually makes the good play and goes as a Slowbro. This will be good for scouting for something like Specs, HP Fire, or even an all-out pummeling as we do see from the Tapu Lele. So very smart play on SoulWind's part, going Slowbro, also knowing that it does have Regenerated plus the Leech Seed working for it. And he doubles out to Gengar right here, expecting Tapu Lele to want to go for the Moonblast, as he does get that correctly. I don't know what the roll was with Psychic on Slowbro, but he still got that play right. So now Gengar is in. It can easily click either Sludge Wave or Shadow Ball. He actually opts to click the Shadow Ball here and gets a crit on Ferrothorn. That's very, very crucial, especially because Ferrothorn's leftovers are gone due to knockoff. So that crit is very crucial because Ferrothorn, unless it gets off a Leech Seed, will not be able to recover anything. Now, instead of staying in, which is more than likely a Scarf Gengar, he decides to actually switch out into Ferrothorn. This is really good because if Marshall.Law wanted to double out to Tyranitar, it gave him a decent switch in or a decent amount to be in versus that. Also, it covered if he wanted to go for Leech Seed or Protect or anything like that. But he did end up doubling out into his Tyranitar, and like I said, it was a very good play on SoulWind's part, going back out into Ferrothorn. It can live 1 Banded Superpower if it is Banded Superpower, so Tyranitar is going to get on out of there, as Ferrothorn is just going to go out into Gengar, scouting for that Banded Superpower. Really solid play, even though it does go down sand. It also catches any double he wants to bring in. I'm pretty sure he's just going to bring in something, I would say Zygarde there, but he actually goes up to Ferrothorn here, as what he can do is either click Knockoff or the Power Whip one more time. Marshall.Law actually decides to switch out into his Landers as he goes for Leech Seed. It's a really good play because if Ferrothorn actually decides to touch his own Ferrothorn, Iron Bars will be working against it. He'll get leftovers back anyway, and if he switches out, he does well versus it. So goes out to Landers again, clicks that Earthquake, and he actually double Leech Seed, expecting him to want to switch out on the Power Whip. And what he is going to do here is go Latios. That's smart because I don't think Landers would U-turn at this point, even if it did have it. And this gives him the opportunity to get rid of the hazards that have been plaguing him this entire game. So Marshall.Law actually decides to go out to Ferrothorn, as I guess he doesn't see the defog coming, or he wants to keep the Intimidate maybe on Landers. Makes sense for the Zygarde, but is able to get rid of the defog, and he's still giving SoulWind like these opportunities to save his Latios, Pokemon like that Tyranitar could otherwise trap. But I think Marshall.Law also went for the do or die Stealth Rock play, because if Latios stayed in, then Tyranitar revenge killed anyway, and if Latios switches out, he does get up hazards here. So he's going to be able to get up his Stealth Rock, and they're both going to trade rocks, again, chipping away at Landers and making Zygarde more of a threat. If Tapu Lele does go down, Extreme Speed is also looking pretty threatening, considering he actually decided to go Gengar here on the Power Whip. And unless Gengar goes for a Life Orb Focus Blast, it cannot knock out SoulWind. So Gengar opts to go for Shadow Ball, which is not able to knock him out, and he's able to get rid of the Gengar. Again, making Extreme Speed from Zygarde very, 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 very scary. And it was Choice Scarf Gengar. So Ferrothorn has no recovery. It's low. Landers is looking low. All he has to do is get rid of Tapu Lele, which is confirmed not choiced, and weaken Alakazam a little bit. So I don't know if that was what type of Latios it was, but it's definitely looking threatening. So Tyranitar is going to come in. It more than likely was Banded Tyranitar. I can go for Crunch here, and it is going to be able to knock out the Ferrothorn, but look how low Tyranitar is now, as Zygarde can come in, and yeah, this thing is looking like a monster. This thing gets a kill as it comes in. Landers will die, Ferrothorn will die, Alakazam will die. So decides to sack Tyranitar, which is really good for SoulWind, because if it is Scarf Lati, it can spam Psyshock, it can spam Psychic, as Tapu Lele is going to come out. He decides to go out to Magearna, smart play. Magearna can take any hit from Tapu Lele that it wants to go for, as he does throw off a Moonblast. Magearna eats that for days, and can actually claim a kill. If it is Shift Gear, it can also win the game right here. So we do see a Psyshock. does absolutely nothing. But then again, based on the Moonblast damage, that kind of looked Assault Vest Magearna. So he's going to be able to knock out the top of Lele, as well as Psychic Terrain is still up, so Alakazam is still very, very threatening right here. So Mega Alakazam is looking very threatening, especially with the fact that it did trace a Soul Heart, and it does get a crit on the Magearna. Now, I don't know the calc on that off the top of my head. Obviously, Assault Vest affects the special defense. I don't know the calc, and Psychic Terrain is up, and Mega Alakazam is a monster. But he is able to knock it out as well as get the Soul Heart. So now this is a +1 Mega Alakazam with Psychic Terrain still up. Decides to go Slowbro. This is a very smart play because he needs to waste the Psychic Terrain. He needs to get rid of the Psychic Terrain because it turns out he is, in fact, Specs Latios, or Scarf Latios, excuse me. So he sacks Slowbro to get rid of the Psychic Terrain. Or to waste one more turn of Psychic Terrain. That way he can go out to Latios, go right for the just go right for the Psyshock, excuse me. Get off enough damage on Alakazam, and now Banded Zygarde is going to be set to sweep. So I think a lot of this ways this game could have been prevented. Definitely, I think the hazards were really in Marshall.Law's favor, but he let Ferrothorn get weakened, Landorus get weakened. Ferrothorn doesn't even matter if it had Protect because his leftovers knock off. Knockoff on SoulWind's Ferrothorn was definitely key in this game because it got rid of all the recovery, and Landorus is going to go down the rocks, and that's going to be game. So SoulWind ends up winning this game when it was looking very, very threatening from the Mega Alakazam. Had it not been Scarf Lati, and also the fact that Marshall.Law didn't decide to go hard into Tyranitar on the Lati's defog. Like, the game could have definitely been different had that play happen, but you know what? That's it. So next up we have the ORAS game. This is the final game of the best of 3, and if you look at team preview, Alamola is just a pain. Alamola is just a huge pain to Marshall.Law's team, even though that's more than likely Zard Y, because Zard Y, Keldeo, Tyranitar is a really, really, really good combo, considering how Zard Y and Keldeo both force in or make Lati come in to check them, and then Tyranitar can just Pursuit Trap them, plus with Excadrill Sand. But besides Zard Y's Solar Beam and potentially Banded Tyranitar's Crunch, Latios, or maybe Specs Keldeo's Focus Splash, Alamola is just looking like a pain to deal with for Marshall.Law. So we do see a Landorus lead versus Garchomp. This does give someone the opportunity to get up rocks early if he does have them. Yep, as he's able to get up rocks. So we see the HP Ice. Surprised he's running HP Ice in Gen 6. Landorus are more so Earthquake, U-turn Stone Edge because Talonflame and whatnot. But he has HP Ice in Gen 6. That's cool. So we do see the HP Ice. He's going to switch out though on Alamola, the go-to counter to every single Pokemon on Marshall.Law's team. And he can literally throw off a Toxic here. He can actually just throw off a Toxic and not care about what wants to come in. He can throw off a Toxic, he can go for Scald. I would definitely go for Toxic or Wish. Wish is a very good play as well because he gets to scout the Latios come in. And he's actually going to go for Protect. Very, very smart play. It does scout for the trick as Latios is going to throw off a Psychic. Whether it be Specs or Life Orb, Alamola is going to eat this anyway. Yeah, that boy did 38%. As Alamola can go for Toxic. And again, really smart. Alamola does have that Regenerator. It can protect up before switching. And like I said, Alamola is going to be a huge, huge, huge pain to Marshall.Law's team. A huge pain to Marshall.Law's team, especially with Rocks up. Especially because his spinner, Excadrill, is weak to Scald. So, doubles up the Tyranitar. More than likely expecting SoulWind to probably go out to maybe either Tornadus on the Psychic or Ferrothorn. But SoulWind doesn't care. Goes for the Wish. And he can just protect. This is really good too because, again, if it is Banded Tyranitar, he gets back at full. And he can also take any hit if he wants to. He can risk this and actually take this hit and go for Scald. As he does find out right there, that is definitely Banded Tyranitar. That did way too much damage. And gets a defense drop. But, again, he can definitely take this hit, go for Toxic, protect up if he wants to, or Hard Switch. Hard Switch is cool into Diancie because not only does it resist, but it also takes advantage of any switch Marshall.Law wants to make. Like if he wanted to go Zard there, he could threaten it. Or it also gives him the Mega Evolution while wasting Sand at the same time. So he can now Mega Evolve with Diancie. Again, it's Gen 6, not Gen 7, so it doesn't get the Auto Speed boost. Obviously, Diancie is now. I'm so hyped for this Mon, by the way. I can't wait for it to come out. Throw off a nice Moonblast on the Excadrill switching. And we do find out that it is not Smooth Rock. Obviously, it's Banded Tyranitar. So he can go right out into the Alamola on the Earthquake, which does absolutely nothing, man. 31%. Very smart of him, though, to go for Protect here because it pretty much gets rid of the chance of a crit knocking him out. Well, maybe depending on the roll right there. But we do see a wish come off, and he can pretty much, like I said, just wish stall his entire team. This boy has nothing, absolutely nothing at all for Alomola. So go out to Charizard on the Stealth Rock, yeah. And we're going to see right here the Mega Evolution. So we do see that is Zard Y. Alomola can again protect, get a little bit of recovery, and if it wants to, it can switch out. It can also stay in. Goes Gengar on the Solar Beam, which is pretty smart, especially if it's Life Orb Gengar. It can knock out Charizard at 51% with the Life Orb attack. So Marshall.Law, knowing this, is going to go out to Tyranitar, more than likely as fodder. That is, again, assuming it is Life Orb Gengar, but we see a Sludge Wave come off, so I'm not sure if it's Scarf Gar. I'm not sure what type of Gar it is, but decides to switch out. This is smart because had Marshall.Law not gone for Pursuit, obviously he'd still keep Gengar, which could threaten Keldeo, Latios. I'm thinking it's Scarf Gar at this point. Then again, it did 15%. I don't know what that damage is. That could be Specs damage on Tyranitar. I'm not entirely sure what the damage is off the top of my head, but Pursuit gives him to switch into pretty much anything, Alomola or Diancie. But Diancie is going to come out, and it can just go right for the Moonblast on the incoming Excadrill. If he is packing Protect on this Diancie, he can use it to waste a Sand turn. Gets an unfortunate crit, which means that the next Moonblast will be able to knock him out, and can go for Protect just to waste that turn of Stand. And because of that crit as well, he can actually afford to go out into Rocky Helmet's Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin, Garchomp, and Spin Block here, because if you do go down to Rocky Helmet plus Rough Skin, you don't get off your spin. So he's able to knock out Excadrill while keeping up his rocks. Latios is going to come out. If it is Defog Latios, it's okay, though. He can get rid of rocks here. So Latios comes out. He can definitely drop a Draco if he wants to, or go for Defog. Decides to go for Psychic on the incoming Ferrothorn. And again, Ferrothorn's also looking at threat, especially with Charizard at 1%. And Keldeo coming back in. But doubles out to Alomola. Scouting for the HP Fire. Very, very, very solid play on SoulWind's part. Very solid play on SoulWind's part. Scouting for the extra belt Latios set. Really solid play. And you just go for Protect here. Not only living Draco, but also being able to ensure poison damage racks up on the Latios and then kill him with the next turn and then just get up the Wish if he wants to. But actually decides not to risk something like a crazy crit or anything and goes back out into Garchomp on the Draco. Also getting back Alomola at full after rocks. So really, really smart plays there. Keldeo is going to come out. Keldeo's looking at a threat, but he does have Tornadus to be able to deal with it. Tornadus is actually looking really threatening, especially if it has like Super Power or Focus Blast. Then again, Focus Blast has to hit, but Tyranitar is also so low to the point that U-Turn can knock it out after Stealth Rock plus Toxic. So he can go right to his Alomola here on the Scald. Marshall.Law just fishing for a burn, doesn't get it, but Alomola does end up getting the Scald burn on the Keldeo, so that's definitely going to be racking up. And what he can do here is either double Scald or Wish up. Either way, Wish is a good play, considering how if Tyranitar comes in, he can Wish, Protect, and just have Toxic knock it out. So like I said at Team Preview, Alomola is just a huge, huge, huge pain to Marshall.Law's team. He doesn't really have much to break through it. Now, he does have the Charizard, obviously, which can live rocks because it was at 1%, get up that sand and whatnot, and can roost if it wants to. SoulWind knows that he does have to roost, so he takes this as an opportunity to throw off a Toxic. Does miss, however, so that is going to add a few extra turns to this game. Decides to go for another Toxic, though, because a Roost is still a good play regardless of Charizard. He can also take Solar Beams. Unfortunately, misses 2 Toxic in a row, but Sun is also working against Marshall.Law at the same time. Like, he can he can stall at the Sun and go for Toxic if he wants to. So decides to go out to Ferrothorn, just stall at that Sun. Marshall.Law does make the good read and goes right for Flamethrower. Also, in case he wants to go on to Tornadus, that would do the most damage, obviously. But Alomola can come back out, and if it wants to, just go for Protect here and stall at that last turn of Sun, meaning that Charizard has to charge to go for Solar Beam and can't knock it out. Goes to Keldeo, as he can go right for Protect. As Keldeo decides to go for the Specs Focus Blast. That would do so much damage to Alomola. If he decides to stay in, of course. But SoulWind actually decides to just throw off a Wish. He knows he can take one, so it's smart. And what he can do, again, is just throw off this Toxic on Charizard. Had there been a crit there, this game could have been different. But he does manage to land the Toxic now while getting back his Wish. And this is going to be working against the Charizard. Charizard can't come in anymore if it is going to be at 50% because it will be taking that Toxic damage upon switching. And knowing that he makes a really good read here. He expects the Charizard to roost, predicting the Protect. A little bit risky, though, because Charizard Solar Beam did have a chance to knock out Alomola there. And it could have been bad if Hurricane, kept missing. Because if Hurricane did miss, then Keldeo could potentially beat Tornadus. But at the same time, though, if it's HP Ice Diancie, which I'm thinking it might have been, it didn't really matter. But either way, Sun is gone. Charizard does die to Poison. Alomola can go for Wish here if it wants to, or Scald. Wish is just the best play, though, because Charizard can't switch out due to the Stealth Rock, and he can easily take a Focus Blast from Alomola. Or from Charizard, rather. And with Scald plus Toxic, he is going to be able to knock it out. Oh my god, Alomola just putting in so much work. I mean, this is what I said, like at Team Preview. This Pokemon just put in so much work versus him. So Keldeo has come out. A safe Protect is the best play. Wearing down the Keldeo with the Burn. Does go for Focus Blast. Does not have to risk this if he does not want to. He can and should go hard. He can and should go hard Tornadus in my opinion, but he decides to risk it. I guess it really was more than likely HP Ice on the Diancie. And the reason I say it's HP Ice is because SoulWind's team is actually pretty weak to Gliscor. And SD Spadef Gliscor can 6-0. So I'm thinking it is HP Ice Diancie, not HP Fire. Also because he kept Moonblasting on the extra drill. So I'm thinking it might have been HP Ice. But that's why I'm pretty sure he didn't care even if Alomola got crit. Because Diancie does outspeed the Specs Keldeo and can also HP Ice the Lanners to deal with it. Which was confirmed, not Scarf. But Lanners goes for an Earthquake, gets Scald burnt, and it doesn't even matter because Alomola was going to be able to eat it up anyway, and Moonblast would have been able to pick it off after the Scald damage regardless, or Tornadus in the back, which did not see the light of day this game. Surprising because it actually had so many mons it could switch into in this game. But Tornadus, which did not see the light of day, is just going to be there in the back, and SoulWind is going to... SoulWind's able to win 2-1. So SoulWind advances to the next round of the Smogon Tour playoffs. I hope you guys did, enjoy the post commentary. A lot of people played today. Unfortunately, I was not home, so I wasn't able to catch any of the games live. But love watching the replays. Love going into detail why they made their plays. Obviously, there's a few plays that I did not like on both sides. I didn't like when SoulWind sacked Keldeo there. I understood why he did that play. I did, but that doesn't mean it was his best play in that situation. Another play here, like Marshall.Law did not go Tyranitar. Like that would have been a game changer, being able to trap Latios. But at the same time, it makes sense if it was if he was fearing Shift Gear Magearna, because Shift Gear Magearna could have always been a threat. At the same time, though, then he probably shouldn't have let Ferrothorn get so weakened. But anyway, this game was definitely clean, regardless of the Scald burns or whatnot. Alomola just had the best matchup possible versus Marshall.Law. I mean, that mon in general is just so annoying to deal with. If you don't have an Electro type, if you don't have Toxic, like even Bandit T-Tar. Bandit T-Tar wasn't doing any damage. But I hope you guys all did enjoy it. Like I said, if you guys want to pick up my clean 7 years merchandise to celebrate 7 years on YouTube, that link is down below in the description. They are available till June 5th. We got mugs, hoodies, V-necks, tank tops, long sleeves, and multicolor as well. Not just what the colors you see here, but actually multicolors. And yeah, expect some other uploads today. I did finally get to do my OU live, which I've been trying to do for a couple days, as well as some zombies with the boys. So of course, like I said, if you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, do your thing, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.